It was one of those mornings when even the sun seemed afraid to rise. Snow covered every inch of the small Montana town of Red Creek, a place where winters were long and merciless. The wind howled like a wounded animal through the pine trees, and the roads were buried under layers of white frost. Most folks stayed inside, their fireplaces crackling and coffee mugs steaming. But not Mrs. Eleanor Hayes, an elderly widow with silver hair tied neatly under her knitted hat and a heart as warm as her old kitchen stove. Eleanor was known around town for her kindness. Every morning, no matter how cold it got, she walked down the path to check on the stray cats near the woods. Her late husband, Frank, had always said, "Compassion keeps the heart young." She took that to heart. But that morning, something strange caught her attention, a low, distant rumble fading into silence. It wasn't thunder. It was the echo of motorcycle engines, then nothing. Curiosity led her further down the icy road. The snow crunched beneath her boots as she fought the wind, her breath fogging in the air. Then she saw them, two large figures slumped beside their bikes, frozen stiff, half buried under a fresh blanket of snow. Leather jackets with skull patches, Hell's Angels stitched in bold letters on the back. Her heart raced. Everyone in Red Creek had heard stories about bikers, wild men, dangerous men. But what she saw weren't monsters. They were just human beings, broken, cold, and barely breathing. "Dear Lord," she whispered, dropping her basket of cat food. Without a second thought, Eleanor knelt in the snow. Their faces were pale, lips blue. She checked for a pulse, faint but there. They were alive. She didn't have a phone, and her cabin was nearly a mile away. Her body trembled from the cold, but she refused to leave them. "You're not dying out here," she muttered, her voice trembling with determination. She grabbed their arms one by one, dragging them through the snow toward her small wooden home. Inside, she laid them by the fireplace, peeled off their frozen jackets, and covered them with blankets. For hours, she rubbed their hands and arms to get the blood flowing. When one of them finally coughed, she gasped in relief. "You're safe now," she whispered, spooning warm broth between his cracked lips. The two men, their names were Jack and Colt, were stunned when they woke. Their world had gone dark somewhere along that mountain road, and the last thing they expected was to be saved by a little old lady. "Why'd you help us?" Jack croaked, his voice rough as gravel. Eleanor smiled softly. "Because someone once helped me when I had nothing. Kindness doesn't need a reason, son." Days passed. The men regained their strength, helping her chop wood and fix her roof in gratitude. They learned that Eleanor's husband had died years ago, and her only son, a soldier, had never returned home. Yet she never let bitterness take root. Her cabin was filled with old photos, warmth, and faith. Jack, the tougher of the two, had tears in his eyes one night as he watched her knit by the fire. "You remind me of my mom," he said quietly. Colt nodded, staring into the flames. "We've done some bad things, ma'am. Things we can't undo." Eleanor set her knitting aside, her wrinkled hands clasped gently over Jack's. "The past can't be erased," she said softly, "but it can be redeemed. The heart doesn't freeze unless you stop caring." Word spread through the town about the Hell's Angels staying at Mrs. Hayes's place. Some people were angry, they didn't trust men with criminal reputations. But Eleanor stood by them. "They're not what you think," she told the sheriff firmly. "They're good men who just lost their way." And over time, the town began to see it too. Jack and Colt started helping the community. They repaired fences, shoveled snow for the elderly, and even donated money to the local orphanage. The same people who once feared them now waved when they rode by, not in terror, but in respect. When spring came, the snow melted, but something much deeper had thawed too, the hardened hearts of two bikers who thought they were beyond saving. On their last morning, before they rode off, they left a small wooden box on Eleanor's porch. Inside was a patch from their jackets, stitched with the words, "Forever Family." As their engines roared into the distance, Eleanor stood by the fence, tears glistening in her eyes but a smile on her lips. She whispered, "Ride safe, my boys." That day, the people of Red Creek learned something powerful: the true strength doesn't come from fear or toughness, but from compassion. And somewhere down the highway, two men carried that lesson like a torch, vowing to live differently, all because one elderly lady refused to let the cold world freeze her heart.